What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Sky Striker deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck just got a major power boost because of the last ban list, giving us all sorts of cool cards like Upstart Goblin back to 3, which helps out this deck a lot. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Sky Striker Ace Ray. Ray is a definite 3-up in the deck that we're always going to be using to link summon into our link 1s and also to link climb into other plays. But this card is a definite 3-up in the deck and a card you always want to be able to see. We then play a single copy of Rose. Rose is just a really good combo piece that you want to play as a 1-of in the build so that you basically have a 4th copy of Ray. This card is pretty good in the deck as a 1-of, but you really only need a single copy. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's a definite 3-of in the deck, basically just to stop your opponent from touching the deck, and it helps out a lot in this build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is very important for the deck as a 1-of because you can search out your copy of Ray with this card. We then play a single copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. Harpy's Feather Duster is just really good at dealing with our opponent's back row, which is why we play this card as a 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Change of Heart. Change of Heart is really good in this deck to be able to take an opponent's monster away so we can use it to link climb into other cards. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave helps out a lot in this build just to stop our opponent from hand trapping us while we're going in for all of our plays. We then play a single copy of Snatch Steal. Snatch Steal is great in this deck as 1-of, and it's insane that this card is back at 1 because this card is just insane at taking control of our opponent's monsters. A lot of the cards in the deck like Mind Control, Change of Heart, and stuff like that help us take our opponent's monsters so we can link summon into other cards, and plus they're spell cards, so it helps out a lot in this build, and it's insane that we have Snatch Steal back at 1. We then play a single copy of Triple Tactics Talent. Triple Tactics Talent is really good as a 1-of in the build because we're also playing Thrust, but this card is great because this card basically says if your opponent hand traps you, you get to draw 2 cards, take control of an opponent's monster, or look at your opponent's hand and choose 1 card from it and shuffle it into the deck, which can give you a lot of knowledge of what your opponent's playing, which is super helpful for the game. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is so good in this deck because this card can search some of the best cards in the entire build, like Mobilize, Engage. It can get to cards like Harpy's Feather Duster, it can get to Change of Heart, it can get to your copies of Talents, it can get to a bunch of stuff in the deck, and this card is just really good because it counts as extra copies of the cards that you need, making this card a definite 2-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Upstart Goblin. I heard playing a 37 card deck is good, which is why we're playing 3 copies of Upstart Goblin to make it 40. This card is crazy that it's back at 3. I never thought I would see this card at 3 again, and it's really crazy that we finally have this card back. It's so good in Sky Striker, and it's insane how well it works in the deck. The 1,000-point gain is not that big of a deal for the opponent because we have cards like Hayate that can swing directly and just basically deal that damage plus 500 more, which is really nice, but it's really good to be able to just dig into the deck while also getting additional spells in the grave. We then play 3 copies of Mind Control. Mind Control is amazing in this deck just to take control of an opponent's monster. It's really good to be able to combine with cards like Change of Heart or cards like Snatch Steal or even Triple Tactics Talents. It's just insane how many like steal cards you have that you can just take control of your opponent's monsters. Even Widow Anchor, which is just crazy that you're basically your opponent's monsters become our monsters, which is really fun to be able to do. We then play a single copy of Hornet Drones. Hornet Drones is really good in the deck as a 1-of. It is currently at 1, but it's really good in this build because this card just gives you a token on your side of the field. Because if you control no monsters in the main monster zone, you can special summon 1 Sky Striker Ace token that's a Warrior Dark level 1, 0 attack, 0 defense, and defense ocean, which cannot be tributed. And if you have 3 or more spell cards in the graveyard, when this card resolves, the token's attack and defense becomes 1,500, basically matching your copy of Ray, which is super cool. We then play a single copy of Area 0, the deck has gotten so consistent you really only need one copy of Area 0 now, but this card is still really good in the deck. It has a really cool ability that you get to target one other card you control, excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, add one excavated Sky Striker card to your hand, also shuffle the rest back in the deck. Then if you excavated a Sky Striker card, send the targeted card to the graveyard, which is super good to be able to just get cards in the grave. It also has a really cool ability that if this card in the field spell zone is sent to the grave by a card effect, then you can special summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your deck, basically just tagging itself out for another card, which is amazing. We then play 2 copies of Engage. Engage is the Rhoda for the deck, but better. This card has the ability to control no monsters in the main monster zone. You can add any Sky Striker card you want from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. And if you have 3 or more spells in the grave, you also get to draw a card, which is amazing that you also get to draw a card with this card's ability. We then play 2 copies of Afterburners. Afterburners is great because this card pops monsters on the field, and it also has the ability if you have 3 or more spells in the grave, you can destroy a spell or trap on the field as well. We then play 2 copies of Shark Cannon. Shark Cannon is super powerful in the deck as well because this card lets you target a monster in your opponent's grave and banish that target, or if you have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, you can special summon that monster to your field instead, but it can't attack, but you can use it for Link Summon, which is amazing. We then play 2 copies of Multi-Roll. I feel like 2 multi-rolls all you need for the consistency of this deck. This deck is already crazy, so 2 is totally fine for this build. This card basically lets you recycle your Sky Striker cards because once per turn, you can target one other card you control and send that card to the graveyard. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to your spell card's activations for the rest of the turn, even if this card leaves the field, and you only use the previous effect of this card once per turn, and once per turn during the end phase, you can set Sky Striker spells with different names from your graveyard up to the number of Sky Striker spell cards you activated this turn while this card was face up on the field, but banish them during when they leave the field, which is really good because this card is almost like Spellbook of Judgment, which is so good to be able to just basically recycle your resources and be able to use your Sky Striker cards over and over again. We then play 3 copies of Widow Anchor. Widow Anchor is insane that this card is at 3, your copies of Mind Control's at 3, Snatch Steal's in the deck, you have Change of Heart, you have Talent, you have just so many ways, and you have Thrust in the deck to guarantee you're going to be taking your opponent's monsters. This card lets you target a face effect monster on the field, negate that targeted monster's effect until the end of the turn. You have 3 or more spells in the grave, you just get to take control of that monster until the end phase, which is crazy. We then play 3 copies of Linkage. Linkage is really good to help you in the deck as well because if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you cannot special summon a monster in the extract for the rest of turn scar results except Sky Striker monsters. Also send a card that you control to the grave, and if you do, special summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your extract to the extra monster zone. And if you have at least 1 light and 1 dark Sky Striker Ace monster on your field or in the grave, you get the special summon monster gains 1,000 attack points, which is pretty good to help you OTK. So that's it for the spells. I know it's a lot, but that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. That's a lot of spells. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3, and that's going to be 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is definitely a 3 of in the build, because this card just helps out a lot to basically drop this card to stop your opponent's basically monster effects, and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. It's super helpful in the deck as a 3 of, just to help you out with your copies of your Ash Blossom, which is just amazing. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Kagari. Kagari is definitely a 3 of in the build. This card is amazing. If this card is special summoned, you can target a Sky Striker spell in the grave and add it back to your hand, which is amazing to grab cards like Engage back out of the graveyard. It's just super helpful. It also gains 100 attack for each spell in your graveyard, which is just amazing. We then play 3 copies of Shizuku. Shizuku is really good in the deck as a 3 as well, because monsters that your opponent control lose 100 attack and defense for each spell in your graveyard, and once per turn during the end phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can add a Sky Striker spell from your deck to your hand with a different name from cards in your graveyard, which is really good to be able to do. We then played 2 copies of Hayate. Hayate can attack directly, which is really good just to help us do 1,500 points of damage. I feel like 2 is totally fine, especially with how tight the extra deck is. We then play a single copy of Kaina. I feel like Kaina is really good for that life point gain, which is just why I love playing this card as a 1 of. It does come up every so often in time, which is why I like this card as a 1-of. Plus, it's a different name. We then play as 2 copies of Zeke. Zeke is really good as a 2-of in the build. I love Zeke as a 2-of. I did consider cutting this card down to 1, but I ended up just playing 2 and playtesting and really liked it at 2. That if this card is Link Summon, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field and banish it into your opponent's next end phase, and once per turn, you can target 1 other card that you control, and this card gains 1,000 attack, then send the target card to the grave, which this card can get really big really quickly. We then play a single copy of Access Code because we play so many different attributes. We play Fire, Water, Wind, Earth, and Dark just with the Sky Striker cards, and it's just really amazing how easy it is to be able to pop multiple cards on the field and just deal with your opponent's field with this card. We play a single copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is so good in the deck and is basically the boss monster for the deck now. This card is insane how easy it is to put on your side of the field, and it's just a really good card overall. We then play a single copy of Dark the Dark Charmer. This card helps you climb into your copy of Access Code, which is pretty helpful to be able to do. And then finally play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon puts in work, and this card just helps out so much in the build to basically just summon it out to your side of the field and deal with any kind of field that your opponent has, and it's so easy to place on the field. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you guys have never played Sky Striker before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's super fun to be able to play, and it's insane how powerful Sky Striker is now with Upstart at 3, Mind Control at 3, and just all the other cards that we got it on to 3 on the last list. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.